Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's session. My name is Del. I am just about to go and share my screen, but while I do that, just to let me know that you can hear me and see me, can you just let me know in the chat where you are from, where you are watching from, and maybe what's the weather like where you are? Anything you'd like to share with the rest of the group while we're waiting. All right, someone's giving me some. Hello, Josh. You can hear me. There's an impending storm. I think that's similar. Yeah, Astrid. Oh, hello, Astrid. How are you today? It's nice to see you. Let me just pull the chat into another window so I'm not looking up all the time, and we will get going. Hello, Mean from Cambodia, and Carol also in Cambodia as well. Nice to see you. So. Thank you all very much for joining us for our first session of our summer webinars. Calm in the Chaos, Practical Tools for the Reality of Everyday Classrooms. Trying to keep this very, very practical to help you with your day-to-day teaching. Now, all our events, all our materials this year will follow a similar theme. So we're looking at the challenges that teachers have. Over the last couple of years, we've asked for feedback from teachers. It's very important to us, the feedback we receive. And we've received feedback from over 3,700 teachers. And what we did with that is analyze it to find out exactly the problems that people are facing, or the problem that teachers and students are facing in their classrooms. And we've diluted, or not diluted it, we've analyzed this and put them into 5 different categories. The first category is a time and resource gap. So teachers are saying to us, if I had ready-to-made materials, I could focus on my students and not my paperwork. They're also told us about a skills and language gap. This is related to students. So they say that they know words, the students know words, but they struggle to actually use them in real communication. This is a very common problem. The next one is the large mixed ability classroom gap. So teachers are saying they need solutions that work in a real classroom, not a perfect one. And I'm aware that doing teacher training, we often can slip into a little bit of a trap of thinking about the perfect classroom rather than the one that actually exists in reality. So this is shaping the way that we're thinking and delivering our teacher training. The next gap is the motivation and engagement gap. So we're saying that when they enjoy the lesson, everything changes. But finding that spark is sometimes hard. And this goes across the levels from primary all the way through to adults. And the last one is the confidence and exam success gap. So the biggest barrier we're finding to exam success isn't language, but it's their preparation and belief that they can do it. So these 5 gaps are shaping the way that we're talking to teachers and shaping the way that we're providing solutions for teachers through our materials and our teacher training and consultancy. Your feedback matters to us a lot, and we will be asking for your feedback through the session and at the end as well. So please, please, please give us your feedback on everything that we do, and then we can feed this back into everything that we do. We are prominent on social media. If you want to find out more about local events like today or regional events like today's event, then you can follow us on our social media platforms. On these platforms, you'll also see information about global events that we run as well, and you can also email us with any questions. Today is the first of 3, as I said, and it's a panel discussion. We've got 3 wonderful participants or panelists that I'm really excited to get to talk to. I will be moderating, so that's my job for today. On Wednesday, so tomorrow, we have Super, who will be giving a masterclass from fun to focus, staging pre-primary classes through dynamic planning. And then Josh on next week will be on Tuesday next week, we'll be talking about scaffolding grammar to help students speak confidently. So please make sure you sign up for these other sessions and you will receive certificates for the 3 sessions that you come and visit. So let's get on to today's session. I'm very excited to welcome today three panelists. So first of all, we have Tracy. Tracy is a teacher trainer, teacher, academic, expert, based in Ho Chi Minh City. Tracy, are you with us? Are you there? Let me wait for Tracy to come from our backstage area.
Hello, guys. Hello,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Okay, I've got you, Tracy. There you are. Hi, how are you today, Tracy?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm very excited to be here.
We're very excited to have you as well. So just let people know where you're at the moment, Tracy. Where are you?
Uh, I am living in Ho Chi Minh City right now.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what are you working on at the moment?
actually, I am working as the teacher trainer at Ho Chi Minh City Teacher Association.
Uh-huh. So you're
Yeah,
training teachers.
yeah, I'm very happy to be the part of the discussion today.
Fantastic. And well, we're
Yeah.
we're very privileged and delighted to have you, and I hope you enjoy it as well. Next up, we have Ibu Celestine. Here's Ibu Celestine's bio. You can read that as I invite Ibu Celestine to the stage.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Ibu Celestine. Hi, Celestine. Now, me and Celestine go back a long time, right? We go back 10 years.
Yes.
So I'm really delighted that you're joining us today because we've had discussions, hopefully like the one we're going to have face to face in rooms in Indonesia where you're based. What are you working on at the moment, Ibu Celestine? I know you do lots of different things, but what are you working on at the moment?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank you for the invite, Del. Okay, and then at the moment, we are working on something that we call Quest Learning. It is
Ah.
something that we are going to apply for our young learner classes.
Fantastic. So maybe you could, maybe that will feed into the conversation that we're going to have today as
Yeah.
well. We can learn a bit more, yeah? Wonderful. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, we have Amir. Amir, are you there?
Hi.
There he
Hello,
is.
Dale. Yeah.
Hi, Amir. So, and Amir, do you just want to let everybody know a little bit about you? Where are you at? Where are you based? What you're
Yeah,
doing?
I'm also based in the south of Vietnam, in the land of coconut, in a small town called Bến Tre.
Ben Trey, yeah?
Yeah.
And what are you working on at the moment? Are you teaching? Are you doing teacher training? What are you up to?
Yeah, all of them. I'm teaching, I'm planning workshops, I'm dealing with new recruitments, everything.
Fantastic. All right, great. So I think you'll all agree that we have three wonderful panelists today that are really going to help shape the discussion and really guide us, hopefully, to discuss these five gaps that we've identified as challenges as teachers. Before we get onto the discussion, I just have one special announcement to make, and that is about our global new voices. We are looking for people from across the world to show their expertise, to give people or to give people an opportunity to tell other teachers about what they're working on, some expertise that they have, and present that to the globe, basically. And the reason why it's special, and the reason why we're promoting it for the first time in Asia today is Amir is actually one of the winners of this. In 2025, Amir submitted a a plan of or a presentation that he wanted to give, became one of the chosen out of around 180 global participants. There was around 10 people chosen. Amir was one of those. So we're delighted to be able to invite Amir here today as an ambassador for the New Voices program, which he was wonderful at. So please, if you want to submit a proposal to speak at one of our global events, then make sure that you scan the QR code or follow the link in the chat as well. Maybe Dolores can put it into the chat, and we'll hopefully get lots of submissions. If you are unsuccessful, because there are so many entries, we are also holding a New Voices Asia after this event, and your submission will automatically go into the the pool of people for our New Voices Asia event as well. So please go ahead and submit. All right, let me stop sharing my screen and we will get on to the best part, which is the discussion. Okay, 1 second. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the 5 gaps that I mentioned at the start. And I have a number of questions. I'm going to start by looking at the first challenge. And just to remind you, is the time, workload, and practical teaching. So I'll start by asking Amir. So, Amir, can you let me know what takes up most of your time, maybe outside of the classroom when you're not actually teaching? What are you doing?
I think it has been, and it still is, designing lessons, the content of my lessons. And interestingly, these days it takes me more time to design lessons than it used to because I now know more than I knew a couple of years ago. So whenever I'm trying to design lessons, I am more meticulous about the selection of my materials, uh, about the differentiation of the materials, how I'm going to differentiate the content, the process, what my students are going to do, about the interaction patterns. So these things still take up the majority of my time outside the class.
That's interesting. The more experience you get, the more time it takes. That I've not heard that before. That's quite interesting. Ibu Celestine, Tracy, do you have a similar thought about that? What takes up most of your
Yeah,
time?
yeah, sure. Because I think that the lesson preparation is taking most time, and choosing the materials that appropriate to the topic and appropriate to their levels is also take time, and writing reports after class, right? Writing report, and sometimes you have to communicate with the parents.
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So and we have some spend much time to read through the textbook. Yeah, read through the textbooks, and maybe we have to select or skip some part of the lesson.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
it's take time too much.
that adaptation does take time sometimes. That's right. Yeah, you need materials that are relevant to the students that can help a lot. And Ibu Celestine, can I ask you the same question?
Yeah, sure. Apparently, we are all in agreement about planning the lessons, but I'm suppose I'm the lucky one because the lesson has been provided by my organization, by my institution. The one that I have problem most is actually how to personalize the lesson to
Mm,
my students' needs. That's the thing. Yeah, other than
yeah.
that, yeah, it's almost the same like Tracy and Amir. Personalization is matters here in this case.
Okay. So
Uh,
with that in mind, what techniques do you use then to really find out how you can personalize lesson? Do you have a systematic approach to finding out what students who they are and what kind of things they enjoy?
Most of the time, what I think is that knowing your students is the best way to personalize. So I make it my number one priority to know their names first, and then what
Yeah.
is it that they like? Yeah. Other than that, if we have time to, yeah, besides the lesson, of course, I like to talk to them. Like to talk to
Right,
them,
right.
what make them stick
Yeah.
and stuff like that. That is always the first thing that I do. Yeah, when I try to personalize. Okay.
Right.
Probably
Uh,
others also have other tricks.
yeah. And Tracy, let me throw that back to you. Do you have a systematic approach to getting to know your students, or is it more relaxed? How do you go about it?
Actually, at the beginning of the class, I usually play some games. Yeah, create some activity that through the activity I can observe them, the strengths and the weakness, or are they shy, or maybe they are strength at speaking or
Right.
like drawing or doing something, so that I can design the activity, design the lesson that appropriate to their learning style.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah. So less more about the content and more about how they like to learn as well. Okay. And then Amir, let's throw that back to you. So what about you? You have got a systematic approach to finding out
Uh,
what your students like?
I'm not sure if it's a systematic approach, but during the school year, for the first sessions of the classes that I teach, there's an activity that I often do, and that is that I ask my students to stand up and go find a partner to mingle and try to find two or three or four things that they like in common. After that, I ask them to tell me, and then I take notes of some of them. So this is one of them, so that I become aware of what my students like, or the majority of my students like. And the other thing that I do for personalization is that sometimes I, depending on the lesson and the target language and the objective learning objective, I ask them to make true sentences or do something which resonates with them at one part of the lesson, so that it resonates with, they know that it is meaningful and relevant to them.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. I like that too. Yeah. I think in the past what I've done as well is also in the first lesson when we're using a course book is actually analyze the course book and the content of that. Maybe do something like a book quiz and try to find out what students might enjoy, which units, which topics they might enjoy as well. I guess that's a systematic approach, but all different approaches. And one thing I've noticed is this first question is a gap about time, workload, and practical teaching, but we've already moved to engagement, I think, because this deals with that. So let me pull it back to time and how to manage time. So with things like, do you have any tips for teachers outside of the classroom how to plan lessons more effectively? Any suggestions? I mean, you're saying it takes a bit more of your time. But you're probably more effective at it, right? You're just doing more because you know more. But what about these
Yeah.
new teachers that have a high workload and are time scarce? Have you got any suggestions?
Yeah, I would say that now we can use AI,
Hmm.
and yeah, I create my AI assistant for lesson planning and create some activities that appropriate with my students to my students.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, it can be.
creating the AI assistant, you must have some uh, prompting engineer.
Yes, yeah, that's the key, isn't it? Being a good
Yeah, yeah. So we have to train the AI assistant. For example, I have to input my teaching style. For
hmm
example, if I teach grammar, I like the inductive
Uh-huh.
approach. Yeah, and some activity that the student can interact in the activities and integrate the speaking and writing in teaching grammar. So
That's cool. So
I input to
yeah.
the my AI assistant so that they can understand my style.
And then your class profile as well. And yeah, that's a really cool way
Yeah.
of approaching it. What about you, Ibu Celestine? Have you got any ideas to help teachers practically with their planning and saving time?
Okay, funny that Tracy started with the AI. We are so close. Our teachers are so close, especially me. And then we call the AI our boyfriend even. Or some teachers call it my husband. I'm going to ask my husband or my boyfriend. I was kidding.
Yes, be careful.
That's that's of course very, very what is it then beneficial. And then it cut times like almost a quarter. Yeah, Tracy. And one thing for sure, since we do have in our institution, we have our own clear procedures of doing things. That is
Right.
Yeah.
even better if we can also include that in the what is it then in AI, right? Okay, you
Yeah.
just put the clear procedures as well as, and then they can fix everything up. Another thing is that the resource sharing for the teachers, resource sharing among our branches
Yeah.
helps a lot. here in this case. The resource can be even the lesson plans, yeah, to be used for other classes in other branches. Of course,
Mhm.
they are going to use it with some modification.
Sure.
That's the
Yeah.
thing.
But that's that.
Yeah, AI, resource sharing, activity banks, yeah, lesson plan banks, stuff like that.
Yeah. This is going to help. Yeah. And what about you, Amir? Have you got any suggestions, say, for a new teacher that's coming in?
Yeah, I totally agree with AI, prompting AI properly and resources. There are two other things. One is something that we do in our school. We have been doing for the past maybe 2 years. And the other thing is something that I have been strongly encouraging all of our teachers to do related to their planning, and that is to critique the materials that they are going to teach. So sometimes we have got set textbooks and teachers are assigned to teach pages 4, 5, 6, and they think they have to teach everything on pages 4, 5, 6. And I disagree with that. I always tell them to go and check everything out. Sometimes you don't have to teach one exercise that you don't like. It doesn't make sense to you if you think that your students don't like that. As long as you stick to the learning objective, you try to create learning opportunities. So critique the materials. Don't just follow everything as it appears. And the second thing that has been very helpful in our school, especially for the new teachers, is that we have had a couple of administrative staff. We have trained them to use AI very effectively, and they have used AI to create all of the PPT slides for a large number of classes. They're not perfect. So many of them contain a lot of errors. But when teachers arrive, we give them all of these slides for all of the topics and the levels. And again, I tell them, hey, remember that there are so many problems here, but they can be a good start for you. You don't have to create everything from scratch. Check them out. You can keep some of them, but make sure to adapt some others and supplement them.
Yeah, good starting point. Yeah, good for them. Yeah. I do agree with that. And I guess one of the questions I was going to ask was what do teachers need to stop doing? And I guess you've answered that in terms of like stop thinking that they need to teach every page of every activity on every page. And as I think it was Ibu Celestine mentioned about adapting and selecting materials rather than, or maybe it was yourself, adapting and selecting materials rather than teaching, teaching everything that's on there. That's definitely a skill that you learn as you go along, right? Um, yeah, less is more sometimes. All right, so let's look on the next challenge then at getting students to use the language. So this comes up a lot, and I'll go to Ibu Celestine with this question. So, why do students often know grammar, but they can't actually use it?
That's interesting. Yeah, they know, but they are not able to use it. Think about probably it has something to do with the duration of them using the language itself. Okay, knowing grammar doesn't mean that you can suddenly speak the language, but I think it would be better if teachers can actually give students more time in which they can actually produce the language. Yeah, so I think repeated exposure using meaningful language, and then again, the old saying, practice makes perfect, is I
Right.
think still applies here. So it's not just the paper and pencil activities of filling in the blanks with grammar, but really use it in a meaningful way. And then we should give them time to do that.
Okay. Would you like to add to that, Tracy?
Yeah, I think that students just know the rules of grammar because teacher maybe they teach with the deductive approach. That means they give the rules first and then practice and give example and then control practice with the exercise in the textbook. And I think that so that's why I would like to use the inductive approach because in my teaching in my grammar teaching class I usually ask them to give them the context first so that they can recognize the patterns. Yeah, for the activation. So for the first aid, I usually use the ESA framework. I mean, engage first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Engage first by some materials like story or maybe a video contain the grammar rules, the grammar patterns, and then ask them to recognize what is repeating again and again, so that they can recognize and they can write down the rules.
Yes.
Yeah. So meaning first.
Yeah, that's a nice approach. We use that quite often in a lot of our materials where we'll present vocabulary and then provide some context with a reading activity with the grammar, and then ask them to notice and then guide them through it. It's a really nice way. And what about you, Amir? Have you got any thoughts on grammar and why students can know the grammar but can't actually use it?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind, Del, is again exposure to language, because most of us teach in an EFL context where students only have access to the language inside the class. So the teachers should probably try to maximize these learning opportunities, try to expose learners to the grammar piece that they're trying to teach, and a mixture of deductive and inductive grammar. The other thing that is oftentimes overlooked, I think, I might be criticized for this, is the important role of translation, Del. I think if anybody has got the benefit of doing some translanguaging instead of classes, it can really help the students to totally comprehend, okay, so that is this one in my L1, and that is how it works. So sometimes instead of having lengthy explanations, we can do a quick translation, if we can, and the students would better understand so many grammatical points.
Great, great. Yeah. Now, translanguaging. Let's just dig a little bit deeper into that, Amir. Can you just explain what that is? Because you said if you can translate, can
Yeah.
you translate into Vietnamese? What's your Vietnamese like?
Just no, mine is broken A1. So I'm not proud of my Vietnamese, but so many times, especially during the school year when I teach in primary schools, I have teaching assistants for all of my
Right.
classes. And when I have teaching assistants who can communicate with me, there are so many lessons and activities that I can do that I can't in classes in which I don't have a TA or I have a TA who can't communicate with me. So with this translanguage, what I mean is that trying to use both languages, trying to take advantage of both languages, drawing a
Yeah.
comparison between what something means in a student's first language, how it is translated in the second language, and if there are any commonalities, similarities, and differences. And so many times such comparisons can really help that penny drop, if you will,
Yeah.
for students. So yeah, if I have teaching assistants who can help me with some translations, if I'm going to teach some grammatical points, I do seek their assistance.
Yeah. I'm thinking also, could you also use really good concept check questions?
Yeah.
Find out which students actually do know what you're talking about, and then get them to translanguage with other students as well. So use their first language to explain it to each other. That could be another way, but you'd have to be really sure that your concept check questions were on point and that student did actually was able to show you that they fully understood. Tracy, jump in.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, for the grammar lesson, first I will ask my student, what do you use grammar for? I mean, the purpose. You use language, you use grammar for speaking and writing, not just doing the test, right? So identify the purpose of learning first, and then so as Amir said that he used the translanguaging, and I use CCQ and give example, maybe contrast idea for some example to demonstrate the idea, and use CCQ for the primary student. I use yes/no questions. And for the
Right.
higher education, we use more complicated, more complex questions.
Right. And over to you, Celestine. Have you got anything to add to that?
Uh, for us in my school, we also use translation and stuff like that. But I mean, we try to make it as the last resort. The last resort. We see the importance of giving students more exposure of English. That's the thing.
Mhm.
Because one of the what isn't it? We did a little bit of a research, yeah, and then we found out that it's very difficult for our students to keep using English. So because of that, so we put translation as our last resort. One of the challenges of our teachers is students keep actually speaking in Bahasa, in our
Right.
language. That's the thing that we need to face, yeah, in my school. So we try to limit it. But I mean,
Right.
of course, I mean, using translation to teach grammar is something that is also beneficial for them, but we try to keep it as the last resort. That's
Right.
yeah, our policy here in our school.
Yeah. 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 Often the policy at the school does dictate, right? I've worked in schools before that have been you must only use English within the school, and it's a policy. But I can see what Amir is saying as well, is if it's used correctly in terms of um, rather than a quick fix, it's more of a
Yeah.
analysis of the language and a comparison. I can see that would be nice. One thing I'd like to touch on as well is something that Tracy mentioned, which is having an approach to teaching as well. And I'd like to just reflect one of the best pieces of advice I got after an observation um, was a long time ago. My lesson aims were written from my point of view. So my aims were something along the lines of let's say I can't remember exactly, but it was like to teach the present perfect for experience was my aim, right? So that was a teaching aim. And I would go in there, I would feel comfortable because I know the grammar, I know the subject plus the verb to have has plus the verb three, and I was so comfortable in teaching and felt very, very confident because I knew the grammar. If I could get that across to the students, then obviously they would then be able to speak using that grammar. And I know now that's not the case. And the observer said to me, "Why don't you write your aims from the student's point of view?" So at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to use the present perfect for experience. And that totally shifted the way my approach to teaching was. So it was all about what they could do with the grammar, not them just learning the grammar. So that was really a very, very important lesson from me. And yeah, but I love that inductive approach as well that Tracy mentioned. All right, let's have a look now at the one of the biggest challenges in classrooms in Asia, but actually from talking to global colleagues as well, this is a worldwide problem. Maybe you can guess what it is.
Mixed ability class.
There you go. Boom. Yes. It's the mixed ability classroom. So, um, I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to ask Amir this time because he hasn't had a chance to answer first. He's always at the end. I recognize that. So I'll come to Amir first for this one. What does mixed ability really look like in your classroom, Amir?
I think mixed ability, to me at least, is a class with more than one learner. So that is a definition of mixed ability classroom. But what actually happens is that inside the class, there are some learners who are fast finishers, there are some learners who need more support, there are so many average students, and based on their strengths, they finish tasks and assignments at their own pace and different levels. So that is what happens in the class. And it is a challenge because, as I said at the beginning for the very first question, what takes actually most of my time, Dale, now is designing lessons because now I am more aware of these different abilities. And I try to design lessons that accommodate these various needs. So I want to make sure that, okay, I know already, I don't need to do a needs analysis. I know already that this is a classroom of 40 students. So there are so many different strengths. So for this vocabulary exercise, I'm going to add these four for strong students. I'm going to give these instructions for weaker students. So I can maximize my contribution to as many students as possible.
Right. Okay. I love that. What's a mixed ability classroom? A classroom of more than one student. That's a really good definition. I like that. I'm gonna steal that from you from now on, if that's okay. And Tracy, would you like to add to that? What's a mixed ability classroom for you in your reality?
Actually, for a long time, I don't teach students anymore. I just work
Okay.
with my the teachers, the novice
So,
teacher,
okay.
and yeah, teacher trainees. Yeah, but
All right.
yeah,
Go
but
on.
there is also differences in levels and in ability in my class too. That means they difference in speaking, different level, a different ability in speaking or writing
Hmm.
proficiency. Yeah, about the proficiency and maybe background knowledge
Right. Yeah,
and
that could be
culture
it.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of different factors that go into it, right? Yeah. It's not just proficiency, like you said. There are other things that can come into it.
yeah.
Yeah. And over to you, Celestine. What does a mixed ability classroom look like in your reality?
In my reality, in my class, yeah, it's not just about the language level. Yeah, mixed ability the differences can include the confidence, learning speed, motivation, learning styles, as well as this exposure to English outside the class.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, those are some of the things that I see influence, yeah, the way they progress. That's the thing.
And related to that then, Ibu Celestine, is there any way that you can increase English the the amount of English that they're exposed to outside of the classroom? What suggestions do you have for teachers and students to increase this?
Mm. The usual, actually for this younger learners as well as younger teachers, they are so exposed to social media and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. So that's one thing. For the much senior teachers, they prefer their students to read more,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
more and stuff like that. Okay. I mean, we are now surrounded by so many English. So, okay, if you look to the left, to the right, I mean, everything is in English. So, I mean,
Yes, it
if
is, isn't
you
it? Yeah.
just have this motivation in you, yeah, you can actually find what is it that you can actually learn everywhere. One of my
Yeah.
students actually she's very good. I was so surprised that she could say things that normal students cannot do. And then when I asked, how do you get it? How can you pronounce? And then how can you speak like this? And then apparently she loves doing it's a she loves doing a game. She's a gamer, and then you never know what language can actually comes out by being becoming a gamer and then listening to those I don't know. I'm not a gamer, so I don't know. But I
No,
mean,
me neither. Yeah.
but her English was so perfect. Yeah. And then she said that,
Yeah,
yeah, it's from my game. She's a
that's
real game.
fascinating, isn't it?
Uh-huh. Okay, so
Yeah,
exposure everywhere.
yeah, I have he's not a student. He's a boy who lived just down the road from me, and he kind of grew up exposed to me, um, speaking English to him and spending quite a lot of time with him because he likes sports, and we're very good friends with the neighbor. And now he's really interested in the Second World War. So his
Oh,
knowledge and vocabulary around tanks and planes and all these kind of things is just extraordinary. Like just so advanced, more advanced than possibly mine is around that kind of vocabulary. And it's finding that interest, right? But how do you do that with a class of, 20? It's so difficult to do that, isn't it? Very challenging.
kind of.
So, when we think about mixed ability, when you have a class that learn at very different speeds, which every class does, how do you manage to pace the lesson when students are learning? So, what do you do with those fast finishes, and do you have to spend more time with students who are taking more time? How do you manage this? So maybe I can start with you, Celestine.
Actually, what I usually do is like this. Yeah, I mean, we are talking about the same topic, right? Same topic, but probably when they were asked questions, some are allowed. Yeah, we give them a chance to use sentence frames, just sentence. Others, they can extend with reasons and samples. Okay, so that's one of the things that I usually do.
Right.
Okay, same
Okay.
topic, but some students can just one simple sentence, but others I can actually say, yes, what is your reason? What are the examples and stuff like that? Okay.
So differentiating the output.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And Tracy, what advice would you give to teachers that you're training on this very common problem, managing the pacing whilst also managing students at different levels?
Yeah, for different levels in my classroom, I usually use the tiered activities. That means I divide the class into many groups, like depending on levels, so that
Right.
they design the activity that appropriate to their levels. Like Celestine said that for the very weak or lower student, we can create some activity with the sentence frames so that
Yes.
we can support them well. And then for the median, we can maybe ask more tasks. And for the advanced, more tasks, yeah, more difficult tasks for them.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I often think I've heard people say, well, that putting students into different categories depending on level can be it might be demotivating, or it might be even motivating on the other side. I think if you're clear with this and students are aware, I mean, when we learn other things like even like martial arts, if we can use that as a comparison, everybody starts as a white belt, right? And then as you get better, you have different belts, and there's people in the same class with different belts, meaning they're at different levels. So we differentiate in other things that we learn.
Yeah,
And when
yeah,
we
but sometime we can mix group. We can
sure,
create mixed group so that the strong students can help the weaker, and the weaker can learn from the strong students.
absolutely, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think
So for the
that
mixed
happens,
group, I will assign roles for them, assign
right,
roles within the groups, group leader or the presenter, or maybe the timekeeper and check
right.
spelling, for example.
Nice, nice. I like that. And Amir, it's over to you as well with that pacing.
Yeah, the same. We can differentiate the length of the output that our students are going to produce, whether it is speaking or writing. We can certainly take advantage of group work. Sometimes one strong student with weaker students, sometimes students of similar abilities together, because um, I have seen occasions where a stronger student dominates uh, the task. But the other things that we can do, one activity that I want to give you a very practical example, just like the vocabulary exercise that I told you, is that, for instance, whenever I want to teach some vocabulary to my students, according to the theme of the lesson, I put only the pictures, no words. There, for example, 10 pictures. And then the instructions read, look at the pictures and write their names for at least 5 pictures. And then I know that my stronger students are going to do all of them. Weaker students are going to do half of them, and average students are going to do some of them. So the important thing here is that everybody gets a sense of achievement, and that really matters to me. Um, and of course, once again, the design of the task. For example, we can use AI for some reading tasks to simplify some passages for weaker students, to keep the original for average students and make it slightly more complicated for stronger students, then put them into groups, do jigsaw reading, do jigsaw listening, and things like that. So the design of the task from the teacher can also help with the
Yeah,
mixed ability
yeah.
classes.
I completely agree. Yeah, it's a really nice answer, and thank you all for those answers. Um, I'm going to move on now to the last two challenges. I'm going to kind of put these together. So engagement, I think we've been discussing all the way through, and it's interesting how even when you're talking about differentiation, it's still about engaging students, right? That's really driving everything, that engagement, and I'm really happy that this panel discussion has like brought that to the forefront of the way that I'm thinking now about these challenges. Um, but we also have to think about confidence and pressure from exams, this kind of thing as well, which is really a common problem in our region. Certainly, exam pressure with our learners who, maybe finishing a nice gentle, nice English language program, and then all of a sudden they're hit with these high stakes exams, entrance to university, and reality comes very, very quickly and hits them. So, how do we balance exam preparation with building confidence at the same time? And I'll pass that to Tracy to start with.
I think the first thing that I will introduce the task clearly with the simple instructions so that they can understand what to do first by checking by ICQs. And then in the lesson, maybe when we have the class for the exam preparation like Cambridge, I usually do some activities to motivate, to activate, and maybe they can play some games related to the topic, to the test
Right.
first. Yeah, and for the while, for example, for while listening, I also use some tips like
Yeah.
listening chunking. That means we break the test into many small parts. For example, I can play the recording sentence by sentence and use CCQ to ask them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, to check their understanding about that questions and the conversation first, so that they can reduce their pressure, their
That's
stress.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really
So
like
after, I think that
go on.
we don't have to play twice like the Cambridge
Yeah.
in class, because we can play many times so that they can get familiar to the sounds and the fluency in the pronunciation first, and then for the first listening, I don't ask them to do to choose the answer. Yeah, just close their eyes and listen and
Yeah.
understand the gist first.
That's
Yeah,
great.
then we do sentence by sentence, question by questions,
That's nice. Yeah,
and
building up. Lovely.
and it's so great. Yeah.
I like what you said at the start. It doesn't have to be serious all the time. You can still have fun when you're teaching exam classes. You can still play some games, and then as long as the students are aware of the reason why you're doing that and can see the reason for that, I think that's great. Um, I also, yeah, I like the idea, and I think this goes back to what Ibu Celestin has said about practice makes perfect. So keep practicing, keep doing it, repetition, because a lot of these exam practice questions are repeated, and they can become familiar with the process of the exam as well as the content. That's the challenge, I guess. Um, Amir, what would you say about that? How do you balance exam preparation with building confidence?
Um, I personally always try, Gail, to make sure that my students are fully aware of the assessment criteria, because I think that a lot of candidates are insufficiently aware of what is expected of them, and as a result, they underperform in the exams. I also serve as a speaking examiner for Cambridge, and so many times I see a lot of candidates that they come and they have a performance that is obviously the result of some bad input that they have had from their teachers to tell them, okay, remember you have to do this. And I can obviously tell. So I think to increase their confidence, we teachers need to prioritize their overall communicative competence because confidence, probably real confidence, stems from competence. And then maybe 1 month before the final exam, we can work on some exam strategies to make sure that our students are familiar with the format of the exam. They know how they can improve the performance for certain types of questions. But overall, communicative competence can lead to greater confidence, in my opinion.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, and I definitely agree with the with preparing students for what is expected is really important. So yeah, I mean we've done a lot of work creating resources that are mapped to materials, and particularly in secondary materials that are the content is in the course book, but the actual questions that we've created are specific IELTS questions, for example. So students can still learn the language, still use the course books, but at the same time are getting real live practice of what an exam task is. We found this to be very effective in preparing students, maybe for a preparation course rather than the actual IELTS exam, for example, but it really gives them, boosts that confidence. And Celestine, would you like to finish with that answer, with that question, of balancing exam preparation with confidence?
They actually have covered all. Okay, but I think,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
what I see is that students who regularly discuss, who usually explain, summarize, and present information, they develop both the skills and the communicative competence, and then in the long run, they are able to do great in their exams, right? So, I mean, if teachers can actually do activities to make them discuss, explain, and summarize and present information, for instance, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, and added to that as well is the teacher being interested in what they're saying as well and responding to that in a real way, right? So there's nothing worse is than you asking a question and somebody and a teacher doesn't really care about the answer. And I think that builds confidence, doesn't it? When you're having a discussion and you're interested about what you're not just doing it for the sake of it. You're doing it because you care about what they say. That can build confidence.
One thing that is very interesting comes from the our participants. She said something about meditation. It's a good
Ah,
thing.
well,
You should
in the
try
chat.
in the chat.
I'll have to go back.
Meditation works. That's how she said. I just scrolled up. And
Oh,
then
there. Yeah, one more powerful tip is meditation. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes,
that's
absolutely.
interesting.
Well, that actually brings us on to the final part, which is a Q&A. So we do have a question in the chat, and while we're getting other questions to come in the Q&A session, if anybody does have any questions for the panel, we now have about 6 minutes to answer any questions that you have. Um, and we would be happy to do so. Let me just go to my Q&A screen. I've forgotten how to share the screen now. It's probably in more, right? There we go. So put your questions into the chat or into the Q&A, and I will have you submit your questions now before I start sharing the screen. Okay, the first question is how to solve the problem for students who are lazy to do everything in the classroom. So how do we support students who might be showing signs of laziness? And that's from Ciela Tit. And let's go to Ibu Celestine while you're there. So how do we manage what we might perceive as being lazy students?
Okay, yes, lazy students. We all have, yeah, lazy students in class. That is, yeah. is that? Oh, okay. There is this one thing that I usually do. I just would like to know why, the reason why he doesn't want to to join my class, the reason why he was left behind and then did not want to do stuff. I even at one time talked to his parents about the about his laziness. I mean, finding the reasons why he does the thing that he did, okay, will help me actually. And then of course, talking to this person, yeah, personal approach works well for me. Yeah, do it from the way I see it. If I do personal approach, then it will work. I don't know
Yeah.
about others.
Okay. Amir?
Yeah, I totally agree with Celestine. I think it depends on the age of the learner. So for teenage, young adults, and adult students, we can have a heart-to-heart chat with them to see how we can also engage them inside the class, because sometimes there could be reasons beyond the classroom that we are not aware of. For younger learners, I guess something we can do is to put them into groups, especially according to their preferences, and sometimes perceive their work as a group work, and ask them to tell us how each person made a contribution. This gives them a responsibility sometimes for younger learners to carry their weight. But overall, I totally agree with Celestine that a very honest, caring conversation could be the best for teenagers, young adults.
That's really nice. And Tracy, what would you say?
Yeah, I want to tell a story.
Oh, nice.
A story that I have a student. I had a student at grade 7, and he didn't want to do exercise homework. And the first thing I find out that he likes doing gyms. Yeah, that means I have to build a rapport with him first, and then I find the hobbies, and then I personalize the exercise, like giving the exercise with the gym, or drawing. He likes drawing. Yeah, I design the homework or exercise for that with his hobby, and then he
That's
like to do that.
yeah,
And
that's
that means I think that we should inspire them, find their hobbies, and maybe create some activities or exercise that he like to do.
that's nice. I think, but I agree with the three of you. I mean, certainly a carrot approach rather than a stick approach to this kind of behavior is definitely the way forward for me as well. And trying to get to the source of the problem and then finding, what they actually like doing is probably well, it is definitely the right approach. All right, we've got 1 minute left. Um, so I'm just going to ask you one final question, and that is if you could leave just one piece of advice to the group of teachers today who've been um, participating in today's session, what would that piece of advice be? And we can start with Tracy.
Okay, so I think that teaching is difficult, and teachers maybe have a lot of stress, right? But with the passion, we can do it. We can maybe like think of our role as the trainer is not to give students more stress, more pressure, and create a safe zone for them, the comfortable zone for them. Yeah, so that building the rapports first, and the safe environment for them to learn English. That is a
And
very
then learning
important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and learning will come from that. Lovely. Amir,
I try to put it concisely. I would say design your lessons knowing that there are different types of students in your class. So make sure that everybody gains a sense of achievement during your lesson and prioritize responsive teaching.
thank you, and lovely and concise. And the last word to Ibu Celestine.
Yeah, for me, it's please do teachers do give your students more opportunities to speak, to have to do their conversations, yeah, before anything else. Yeah, they need the time to practice. That's the thing. Practice more.
Thank you so much. Lovely. I would just like to say thank you up to the three of you for your expertise and your thoughts. And this was a really great conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it as I expected to, but it really actually exceeded my expectations. And I want to thank you so much for giving your time. I really hope that the participants, the teachers, everybody in the chat enjoyed today's session, and you benefited from it. And yeah, thank you so much for giving up your time today. That's really, really kind of you. So please give us your feedback. It really matters to us. Without your feedback, we can't prepare sessions like this. One piece of advice maybe I could give you is to come to our sessions where you will get more and more tips and tricks and how to, not tricks, but tips and advice on how to teach and meet wonderful participants like we've had today. Don't forget about our new voices. Please, if you are interested in presenting your ideas on the global stage and then maybe on an Asian stage, then submit your ideas of what you would like to discuss with the rest of the world, and maybe you can be one of our new voices, just like Amir was last year. Coming up tomorrow, we have Super, who's going to be doing a masterclass talking about pre-primary, but lots of the activities and ideas that she's going to present will be translatable to other levels. So please come, regardless of the level that you're teaching. And then on Tuesday next week, Josh will be here to talk about scaffolding grammar and speaking confidently, something that we discussed today, actually. And one more reminder that your feedback matters. Please, please give us your feedback. In the session, in the chat, Dolores will be putting in the link for this as well. Don't forget to follow us on our social media if you want to learn more. We will also be sending you a goodie bag, which will include the slides, and it will also include a special gift for you. So please keep an eye out for that, as well as the certificate from today's session. So I will leave you with the feedback slide, and I will just say one more time, thank you, and a huge applause goes to our panel with their wonderful ideas, and thank you so much. And I will see you again at the next session. Bye, everyone.